Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Brass Gaming Podcast. I'm your host, Christian, and alongside me, as usual, is
Espen.
And today, you might have noticed something. We are doing something a little bit different than what we usually do. We've been focusing a lot on EDH, and Espen and I are big fans of Brewing. And as Espen said, I think in episode 1, he's a big fan of just being creative and putting together cards, and so we want to do a segment kind of like that. So this type of video we're going to do is going to be called Brass Brewing. So, well, you might ask, what exactly is that? Well, Brass Brewing is a segment we came up with where we're going to go to a local game store, whether it be near our hometown or whether it be down here where we live, and we're going to go ahead and take about $100 and we're going to build a commander deck. We want to focus on as much fun. We are not allowed to use any card the game store doesn't have or any card outside of our bulk box. We each have a set aside box of bulk commander cards that range from about $20 to less. And you're going to see in the deck tech we're talking about today, we're talking about Keranos, God of the Storms, which I think is a nice homage to the upcoming Theros set, which it's not quite out yet, but it'll be out soon. And unfortunately, he didn't get a new card. The full spoiler list got put up today, and Keranos did not get a new card, so we're kind of honoring him. And so another question you might ask, is there a budget? So we're going into the local game store with between $100 and $200. While there's various versions of the cards that cost more, we're just gonna focus on what the card would cost at its cheapest cost. So for the sake of this video, and we're gonna put the total price on screen at the end of the episode, we're just gonna focus on what the card would cost if you were to buy it on like TCG Player, not exactly what we paid for it. We're gonna try to keep our budget between the 100 and 200. I think this deck might be a little over. Just because I have a few expensive variations of some of the cards in here.
Right.
And so you might be asking, how do we select a commander? Well, this is how you guys come in. For this commander, I just wanted to build something I've wanted to build for a while. A red-blue Spellslinger deck. And I like the card Keranos because it just seems fun to lightning bolt something at the beginning of your upkeep when you flip that card for that non-land card. So this commander we're doing today was selected because it was just something I wanted to do. Well, we would love you guys to interact and give us ideas of what we should build. Like I said, our budget is about 100 to 200. We're not trying to go over, we're trying to be creative. Mm-hmm. And so with this, and we also have some more parameters. We are not going to use EDH Rec, Tapped Out, or any other magic source, and we are going to try to use our own creativity. So in the deck you're going to see today, we have a lot of cards in here that you might question why they're in here. Well, they're in here mainly because that's what was available to me as I built the deck. And Espen has played this deck a lot. Oh, yeah. We did a lot of testing the other night, and we played it against a variety of power levels. We kind of have an idea of where it ranks. And so, but back to the main point. We're going to post polls on Facebook and Twitter, and we love your input on what commander deck we should build. We would love to hear what you guys have to say and want to build alongside what you guys want us to build. There is no thing we don't like building. I think we're pretty flexible. We build a variety of decks. Pretty much any archetype you think of, either me or Espen here has it built. So that's pretty much the topic of Brass Brewing. So Espen, I mentioned before, this is a Spellslinger deck. What exactly does Spellslinger, what does that mean? I mean, yeah, what does that mean?
So the most basic definition of a Spellslinger deck is that a Spellslinger is an archetype in which you play a minimal number of permanents and generally win by some sort of combo or massive burn spell. So essentially in the deck, there's very few creatures, if I'm not mistaken, and the way you win is just casting a lot of your spells, either finding your combos, digging you through your deck, or either just like in the end just casting a bunch of spells and just like end up killing your opponent. And it wins by a combo, as I mentioned previously just now, or with either Keranos or Niv Mizzet value, which the deck is all about drawing cards and getting through your deck, find your combo, or either just like getting good value off of your two possible commanders.
Yeah, and there's a couple of different commanders we could use. Originally, when I built the deck, the original idea was Jory and Rune Diver. And after doing a little bit of testing with that, I'm like, yeah, Jory N's kind of underpowered. And so I remembered, well, hey, Keranos sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I decided that I was going to try Keranos. Well, upon building the Keranos deck, I came across Niv Mizzet Perun, which is the Niv Mizzet from the most recent Ravnica block. And let me tell you, that Niv Mizzet is really good, and he is your alternate commander for this deck. I think in Espen's play last night, you casted Keranos maybe one time.
Yeah, and then instead of casting Keranos, actually, I ran into Niv Mizzet, and no one really had an interaction. And oh boy, when no one interacts with Niv Mizzet, and you're able to cast all your spells, it's a blast, and it can get out of hand really fast, as you saw last night. Yeah,
that one damage every time you draw, and whenever your opponent casts a spell, you get to draw. And the fact that he can't be countered Niv Mizzet is awesome, but he's the alternate commander. He's not the commander we're going to be focusing on today.
Mm-hmm.
Keranos is going to be the commander. Mm-hmm. And like I said, this is more of a shout back to Theros. We're really excited for the new Theros block coming out. And if there's a legendary creature from the new Theros block you guys want to see us build, we are excited just to build anything. I mean, I built this deck. I'm sure Espen would love to build another commander deck. We're very passionate about this format, and we're not always about CDH. Sometimes we like to sit back and just sling some spells and play some fun and interactive Magic, unlike the Anya deck that we talked about last week. That's not very interactive, but
oh no, these decks are two definitely polar opposites, which as we said when we tested this deck against all different power levels, one of those decks may or may not have been Anya, which was a very...
That game went well for me playing Anya.
Not well for me.
Not so well for the three other members of the pod that were playing when we were doing some testing.
Yeah.
So this deck is... I don't want to say it's one note, but your goal is to dig for the combo. And or you're gonna bolt stuff to death, or Niv Mizzet is he's just so good, and Keranos is so fun. Just being able to bolt something, and like most of your Keranos decks are probably mainly counterspell heavy. And in my experience playing with the groups down here and playing with the groups back home, a lot of people just shove as many counterspells into Keranos as possible, and just, I'm guaranteed a counterspell, or I'm going to get my counterspell, and you're not going to play Magic. Well, when I was building this deck, I decided, I don't really like. We have some interaction as far as counterspells go, but I don't want to say I don't want to be degenerate, because I definitely do love being degenerate in Commander. I wanted to build Keranos in a way that was a lot more fun, in that, I just wanted to cast a bunch of spells. A lot of the commander decks I play is, you do this, you get to this, and you cast this. Well, this deck's all about, you can dig, you can play the Niv Mizzet game, you get to bolt stuff with Keranos. I mean, this deck, it's a lot of fun.
It's a blast.
And what's really nice that I recently found out with doing some testing back home was that Keranos out, Niv Mizzet just gives the devotion to turn Keranos on, because Niv Mizzet is 6 devotion, and I'm pretty sure Keranos, and I actually have him right here, he needs 7. So Niv Mizzet gives you 6 devotion, and Niv Mizzet has 1 blue, 1 red in his converted mana cost already. So Niv and Keranos on the battlefield, you have a 5/5 flyer that pings whenever you draw and lets you draw whenever an opponent casts an instant or sorcery, and you also have a big indestructible 6/5 beater. So it's getting them both out. It's a lot of fun too. I mean, revealing that spell, bolting something, and on top of bolting something, I get to ping something. And we have a lot of synergies with the drawing in the deck. We wanted to, like I said, this deck, you might sit there and question, hey, we have some weird choices for there. And well, yes, we do. Yes, this deck has some very weird commons, uncommons. It's got some very weird ways of doing that. Well, you know, it's a lot of fun. That's all I can say.
It is a lot of fun, and for me, I rarely play blue-red just because at first I didn't find it fun, but this deck, oh boy, it is lots of fun. And before we go any further, I want to encourage you guys to like, share, subscribe, and comment on this video. It means so much to us, and
it really helps us grow. And me and Espen both, we just want you to be along there with the growth. You know, as I said in the last episode, this is going to be a long journey.
Oh yeah.
I'm doing this full time along with going to full-time college, and it means the world to us. And I want to give a shout out to the first ever commenter we had before we move further. I believe his handle is Rage Nemesis.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
We're going to send you a package here pretty soon of some cool stuff, and we're excited to have you along with us. And thank you so much for that comment. It really means so much to us. As soon as I seen it, I was giddy. I was excited. Yeah. I called Espen and said, dude, you got to check the first video. You got to comment. So, but, you know, let's go ahead and move on to the discussion about the deck. Now, unlike the Anya deck tech, we are going to go over all the cards, but we're going to only highlight cards that we think are cool or exciting. And to start off, I want to talk about the commanders. So, we mentioned before, Niv Mizzet is an alternate commander to this deck. And I'll read you exactly what Niv Mizzet does. He's 3 blue, 3 red. He's a 5/5 Dragon Wizard Legendary. He says, this spell cannot be countered. He also has flying. Whenever you draw a card, Niv Mizzet Perrin deals 1 damage to any target. And whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell, you draw a card. Just a lot of power in him.
That's insane.
And when we get to the end of the episode, we'll bring that up. Like, Niv Mizzet Perrin he's a beast of a card, to say the least. He's very, very powerful. So, some of you guys may be wondering, well, why did you just do Niv Mizzet? Why did you do Keranos? Well, like I said before, I love Keranos as a creature. I love the art of him. I think his ability is really sweet. Some of my favorite things to do in Magic is cast Lightning Bolt and do Lightning Bolt stuff. That's probably one of my favorite cards, aside from the Brass Man. And the fact that he's a Lightning Bolt whenever on your upkeep, whenever you reveal, or when you draw your first card each turn, you reveal a non-land card, you get to bolt something. That's just, to me, that's a lot of fun. And it kills a lot of creatures in Commander, especially early game. And him paired with Niv, I mean, that's 4 damage. And whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery, including you, that's a player. Like, that's more damage. You could easily take down a lot of threats on the board. And I think Espen came across that when we were playing last night. I was playing like a forced attack deck with some tokens, and I casted a Hornet Queen and made the tokens, and I thought, hey, well, the other member is going to fight this creature and going to kill it. Well, we tried. The Niv Mizzet deck, or the Espen countered the spell. The person fighting countered that spell. Then Espen countered the spell, countering the spell. And turns out the Niv Mizzet didn't die, and all of my little insects just got pinged away, along with my Hornet Queen, because this deck draws a lot of cards.
A lot, yeah.
Like, it draws a lot of cards. So, Espen, I think this section right here is perfect for you, because it seems like something you just love doing. As your roommate says, your favorite three words, his favorite 3 words of Magic is draw a card. And, well, why don't you go ahead and name some of the cards that help you get to your end game here? Yeah,
so like some of the cards that are in the deck that help you dig through your deck to find your combos and get to that end game are Windfall, Shimmer of Possibility, Surround Visions, Faithless Looting, Fact or Fiction, Peer Through Depths, Brainstorm, Pirate's Pillage, Radical Idea, Frantic Search, Precognitive Perception, Ponder, Treasure Cruise, Preordain, Opt, Impulse, and Teferi's Puzzle Box. Now, I'm going to say this. That is a lot of cards.
Yeah.
It's a lot of cards. And just devoted to, like, drawing more cards. And it's just insane. And I wanted to, like, cover some of my favorite cards out of that section. The first one is Windfall. For 2 and a blue sorcery, Each player discards his or her hand, then draws cards equal to the greatest number of cards a player discards this way. So you might be like wondering, why would you play this? Because like you don't want to discard your hand. You might have some good stuff in your hand. Well, one of the ways you win this deck is combo. So Windfall, it helps you dig for your combo if you don't have any of those pieces in your hand, which is really nice to like do and be able to do, and only for 3 mana, which is kind of insane, because like say someone has like 10 cards in their hand because they have a Reliquary Tower out, and then it's just like, well, I get to draw 10 cards for 3 mana.
You're already going deep in this deck, and Windfall just a new hand. Like, oh, I don't have the combo. Well, I'm gonna get 7 more cards deeper, or 10 cards deeper, as you said. Well, wow, 10 cards for 3 mana, really good.
Yeah, and then the next spell that I feel like is very overlooked is Frantic Search. So for 2 and a blue instant, you draw 2 cards, then choose and discard 2 cards, and untap up to 3 lands. So essentially, the spell, you cast it, you tap your lands, you draw 2, discard 2, and then you untap those lands, which I feel like not enough people realize how amazing that is, because you get to like say someone's like trying to like cast something, you need to dig for a counter spell, you can cast this and then untap your mana to cast your counter spell, which I think is insane.
It's a big faithless looting, what can I say? And you untap your lands. Like that's already good.
Oh yeah. And then this is a funny card. I love that you added this in, but Precognitive Perception. So it's for 3 blue. It is an instant as well. You draw 3 cards. If you cast a spell during your main phase, instead you scry 3, then draw 3 cards, which is a mechanic from Allegiance, right?
Yeah, Addendum.
Yeah, Addendum, which like you might think that's kind of really slow, but like since this a way to win this deck is a combo, it's really nice to scry the top, to like look at your top 3, and if you don't want them, you just throw them away and draw 3. It's just like, I mean, yeah, it's unfortunate to do that. You have to like cast it on your turn, but like, hey, digging for cards is what this deck does, and how like I almost won a couple of those games, almost.
I know you definitely casted that, and I think you scried all 3 to the bottom, and yeah, and
then found some really nice cards coming up next. And then I think one of the best draw cards in the deck is Teferi's Puzzle Box. You may have heard of it. It is for 4 colorless mana artifact. During each player's draw phase, that player counts the cards in his or her hand, puts those cards on the bottom of his or her library, then draws that number of cards. So essentially, it's a wheel at the beginning of at the beginning of each of your draw steps. You draw a card and then you wheel, and then you get to draw more cards. So like, say you have 6, you draw for turn, so you have 7. You put those 7 at the bottom of your deck, and then you draw 7. Which again, as I said, the digging for cards in this deck is important because of the combo, getting new spells and more spells, seeing more of your deck, and it's just a crazy card in here, and yeah, I love it.
Yeah, Teferi's Puzzle Box really goes well with the cards we're about to mention next, and so honestly, I wasn't a big fan of Throne of Eldraine, to put that out there, but Throne of Eldraine gave us a lot of sweet cards. And so some of the cards that it gave us was Ironcrag Pyromancer, Mad Ratter, and Improbable Alliance. And I want to highlight these cards because with all that draw, you're going to want some like creatures or stuff on board that it does something when you're drawing as much. You don't want to just draw for nothing, which I guess that's good on its own. Drawing a card is such a powerful thing to do. Well, this just makes your draws even better. So Ironcrag Pyromancer is 2 colorless and a red for a human wizard. She's a 0/4, and whenever you draw your second card each turn, Ironcrag Pyromancer deals 3 damage to any target. Well, you're already bolting stuff. Why not bolt more stuff?
Oh yes.
So, and next is the Mad Ratter. Well, Mad Ratter. He's 3 colorless and a red for a goblin. He's a 1/2. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, create 2 1/1 black rat creature tokens. So, as said before, this deck has creatures, but not a lot, and sometimes the go-wide strategies can affect you a lot. Well, with Mad Ratter, pumping out 2 little rats every single time you draw your second card, I mean, that is phenomenal just to gum up the board a little bit. And that's each turn. So if you happen to have some draw spells and you like draw on an opponent's turn, or you have Niv Mizzet out and you're drawing, like that's 2 rats per turn. That is really, really, really good.
And it really helped out last night with a deck that like made creatures have to attack. And in order to protect myself, since I don't have a lot of creatures, it just seemed insane.
And this next card is probably my personal favorite, and is actually a little bit of a nice mana sink. It's Improbable Alliance. It's a red and a blue for an enchantment. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 1/1 blue fairy creature token with flying.
Wow.
So, yeah, 1 fairy for every time you draw your second card. That's pretty decent for 2 mana. But it's also a nice little mana sink for, like, you get into the long game of Commander and you're just trying to find that last combo piece at the end of your opponent's turn, or even on your turn if you have enough mana. You pay 4 colorless, a blue, and a red to Faithless Looting, to draw a card, to discard a card, to loot. And, I mean, what can I say? Drawing cards is nice. Even if you have to discard a card, if you can't sculpt your hand in this deck to win, I mean, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
So, going forward, we're going to talk about something a little bit... Every Commander deck has this. That's Mana Rock. So, Espen, what are some of the Mana Rocks that we have in this deck?
So, some of the Mana Rocks that are included in this deck are Izzet Cluestone, Chromatic Lantern, Soul Ring, Thematic Compass.
Which technically isn't a Mana Rock, but for the sake of it being here, we just put it there.
I mean, hey.
Get your lands, I guess.
Yeah. Jeweled Amulet, which you may have I never heard of it until I played the deck. Izzet Signet, Darksteel Ingot, and Commander Sphere. And again, I want to highlight some of these cards. Izzet Cluestone, which, I mean, isn't much. It's 3 mana for artifact, taps for blue or red. But like as Christian said, late game, you want to be able to draw more cards to find that last combo piece. It also has the ability of pay blue and a red, tap, sacrifice Izzet Cluestone, and draw a card. Which, I mean, drawing a card is drawing a card, but 3 best words.
Yeah.
It can be that like one card where you find your combo piece.
Yep.
And then another Mana Rock, which isn't technically a Mana Rock, as mentioned before, Thematic Compass. It helps thin your deck of lands, so then you don't draw more lands, and so it actually triggers Keranos more often, so when you can bolt something. Then at the it has the ability 3, tap it, search your library for a basic land, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. And then and at the very bottom it says, at the beginning of your end step, if you control 7 or more lands, transform Thematic Compass. Which Thematic Compass just, if I'm not mistaken, I can't remember the name of it, but it essentially turns into a Maze of Ith that can also tap for colorless, right?
A better Maze of Ith, yeah.
Oh yeah. Yep. It's really cool. And again, in a deck that doesn't have creatures, this is actually really important.
Yep.
And then Jeweled Amulet. Now this is an interesting one. It is a 0 mana artifact. It has 1 tap, put a charge counter on Jeweled Amulet. And you have to note that type of mana was used to pay this activation cost. And you can only use this ability if there are no charge counters on it. And then you can tap it, remove a charge counter, and add 1 mana of that type that was last put into it. Did I explain that correct, Christian?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It essentially gives you something to do turn 1. If you don't have the Soul Ring, you play the Jeweled Amulet, you throw a charge counter, now you have 1 extra mana for your next turn.
I know.
And it's colored mana. It's not colorless. It's colored mana, which I think that's pretty good.
Oh yeah, it's very important in this deck with a lot of spells that like are like colored mana heavy. And next are some like planeswalkers that we want to mention in the deck as well. Christian, you want to cover those?
Yeah. So the super friends we have in this deck are Chandra Blaze, Chandra Flamecaller, Ral Storm Conduit, and Jace Beleren. And so I only wanted to highlight a couple of the cards. Planeswalkers see a lot of play, and if you don't know what a lot of these do, then maybe your group doesn't play them, but they're pretty commonly known. And so I wanted to first talk about Jace Beleren, or Party Jace. And if you've never heard that term before, he's called Party Jace because his +2, each player draws a card. Everybody gets to party. Everyone gets to take advantage of those sweet 3 words. Draw a card. And so, he's also 1 colorless and 2 blue. But his neg 1, target player draws a card, which, if Jace doesn't feel like partying, well, now only you draw a card. Or if you're feeling crazy, I'll tick him down and target Espen for Espen to draw a card. Good political tool, too, to make it so someone else draws a card or you draw a card. And his neg 10, which, in my testing of this deck, I've never got there, but who knows, maybe you will. Neg 10, target player puts the top 20 cards of their library into their graveyard, which I don't think that's very good. I mean, this was original lower in Planeswalker, so, it's okay, but I don't think milling someone 20 is that relevant. But, so, next Planeswalker that I thought was really important for the deck is Chandra Flamecaller. She's 4 colorless and 2 red. She enters at 4 loyalty. Her +1. She puts 2 3/1 red elemental creature tokens on the with haste onto the battlefield. Then you exile them at the beginning of the next end step. So it gives you a couple guys to attack. Not reason why it's in here. The reason why she's in here is the 0. Just all the cards in your hand, then draw that many cards +1. So let's say you're hitting the bad part of the Keranos deck. You're hitting all the lands. Well, I'm going to go ahead and 0, discard them, and now I got a whole new grip. +1. That's pretty nice. And then she has a Neg X. Chandra Flamecaller deals X damage to each creature. So she enters. If everything's 4, you get a board wipe. And also not super good. In our play group, most people aren't playing the really weak creatures, but against a lot of tokens, this comes down.
Oh, yeah.
It negs a couple, and it wipes the board. So going forward, this is probably Espen's favorite part of the deck, because he's just the type of player. And this is actually called Disruption and Oppression. So, Espen, what are some of the cards that we put that fit in this category?
So some cards that we put in this category would be Flood of Tears, Blue Elemental Blast, Hydroblast, Rebuild, Blood Moon, Lightning Bolt, Biforce, and Chaos Warp. And I'm not gonna lie, I love all these cards.
Yeah.
They're all great.
They're Espen cards.
They're Espen cards.
Yeah.
They're amazing. But first off, I wanted to cover Flood of Tears, actually. It is 4 blue for a sorcery. Return all non-land permanents to their owner's hands. If you return 4 more non-token permanents you control this way, you may put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. So, say Keranos is out, and you just have everyone just has a huge board state. You just bounce everything, and then heck, you just put Keranos back on the field, or Missa, or some other big permanent that you have in the deck. It's just really nice to bounce everything and be able to put one of your things back into play for free. It's really nice. And then I was a little surprised seeing this in here. I really like it, but Blood Moon, and I'm sure many of you have heard of it. It's for 2 and a red. It's an enchantment, and just simply all non-basic lands become mountains. And for those people that are playing 5 color, I am sorry if this deck is playing against you, or this card gets played against you. You've seen how impactful this card could be in Commander. How do you think it fares for the most part?
I think it's a blowout. People already talk about how good similar cards are, back to basics are. Well,
oh yeah,
this just makes your lands unusable in 5 color decks. I mean, yeah, you have all your rainbow lands and your 3 color lands and your shock lands, or your duels. And yeah, now your volcanic island, that just taps for a mountain. Congratulations.
Yeah, and then the last card, which I think is another overlooked card, is Biforce. It is for X and a red. It's a sorcery, once again, and you destroy X target artifacts. Pretty simple, and there are some better cards out there, but for the sake of Brass Brewing, this is a good card, because it's essentially red and then 1 mana to destroy a artifact, so you can pay total of 6 mana to destroy 5 artifacts, which can be really good.
And we just want to emphasize, yes, there is a certain card which, we'll just say it now, it's Vandal Blast. Vandal Blast is better. Well, the store that I went to build this deck did not have a Vandal Blast in stock. So Biforce is the closest thing to Vandal Blast that I could get. And I guess Shatterstorm is also a little bit better, but Shatterstorm destroys all artifacts, and I wanted the option to choose and to not destroy mine.
Yeah, protect some of your mana rocks and not. Yeah, that sounds all right. And in this deck, reducing spells is another huge aspect. And you want to cover some of those? Yeah. So in this deck, we're playing a lot of spells, and sometimes it's nice to cheat on the mana for those spells. So some of the cards we have in here as spell reducers are Goblin Electromancer, Arcane Melee, and Jace's Sanctum. So Goblin Electromancer alone is a 1 blue, 1 red creature, Goblin Wizard, 2/2.
Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Okay, pretty simple. Just reduces your spells. Arcane Melee is 4 colorless and a blue for an enchantment. Instant and sorcery spells cost 2 less to cast. That means everyone's, which I think you're fine with in this deck.
Mhm.
In my experience, this has never benefited anyone else more than it has benefited me.
Mhm.
And the final way we can reduce spells in this deck is Jace's Sanctum. 3 colorless and a blue, enchantment, instant sorcery spells you cast, cost 1 less to cast. And whenever you cast instant sorcery spell, you get to scry 1, which sometimes casting that preordain or casting something big and being able to scry, that's pretty huge. Scry that land at the bottom.
Mhm.
Or you get to see that combo pieces coming up. Very, very, very valuable, I would say. And Jace's Sanctum is probably the all-star of the spell reducers.
Oh yeah, for
So
sure.
this is another Espen section, as I told him before recording the episode, which is the counter package. Now, again, you're going to know there's a lack of a certain counter spell in this section. Again, I just want to emphasize, this deck was built with cards that the local game store I went to and built it from had. So I think there's some interesting counter spells in here. Wouldn't you say so, Espen?
Oh yeah, there's one that is very interesting. So to start off, for the counter package, there's Desertion, Flusterstorm, Glen Alendra, Archmage, Mana Leak, Arcane Denial, and Rewind. And this first one I'm gonna cover, I looked at it, I was like, I'm not gonna lie, I've never seen this card before, and it's really sweet. It's a Desertion. It's for 3 blue. It's an instant. Counter target spell, so you can counter any spell. But if an artifact or creature spell is countered this way, put that card onto the battlefield under your control instead of into its owner's graveyard. So say someone's like, oh yeah, I'm going to cast Emrakul or like some just big creature. You just go, I'll take that. And I'm not gonna lie, I am waiting to like be able to do that, because that sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
It's just a awesome thing to do. And then another counterspell that I want to, counterspell, but it is Glenelendra Archmage. It's for 3 and a blue for a fairy wizard. Choose a 2/2 with flying. You can pay a blue, sacrifice Glenelendra Archmage, counter target non-creature spell. So it's essentially a negate on a stick, and it also has persist. So you're able to use this ability up to 2 times, which is really nice to just be like, hey, I have a 1-mana negate on the board. No one counter my spells. No one, and then you can try to combo off that way too, which is really nice protection. And it also provides for a blocker in those times that you just really need to not die to a big boy. And finally, Rewind is another counter spell, which I think is amazing. It's for 2 colorless blue instant. Counter target spell. Simple. And then untap up to 4 lands, which again, as I previously stated for Frantic Search, is what I think is overlooked, that you get to counter something, and then if this resolves, you get to untap 4 lands, and then you have like, you can cast more spells, which is just really cool. And
Yeah, definitely a lot of good counter spells. So we're gonna go ahead and speed this up a little bit, because I know we've been kind of droning on about cards and we want to get through this.
Mhm.
The non-combo creatures. So these are just some of the basic creatures that synergize with the deck or just are good in general. And the creatures that we have are Young Pyromancer, Torbrand, Thane of Redfell, Solemn Simulacrum, or Sad Robot, Grim Lavamancer, and Forgotten Creation. And just quickly, a few cards I want to highlight are Young Pyromancer, or more lovingly known as Young Peasy. He's a 1 colorless and a red creature, 2/1. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 1/1 red elemental creature token. Again, your cat is a spell singer deck. You're going to make a lot of them. The next card is Torbrand. He's a 1 colorless, 3 red, 2/4. If a red source you control would deal damage to an opponent, or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals that much damage plus 2 instead. Niv Mizzet now does 3 per draw. It's a red source.
Ooh.
Your lightning bolts now do 5. Keranos now does 5. Very good. And my favorite personal creature is Forgotten Creation. He's a 3 colorless blue, 3/3 with Skulk, which means this creature can't be locked by a creature with greater power. Horrible ability. But the reason why he's in here is at the beginning of your upkeep, you may discard all the cards in your hand. If you do, draw that many cards. Just a wheel effect. Let you refill your hand if you have a bunch of bad cards, and that's good. So Espen, next we're going to move on to just a couple of the sorceries that are in the deck. We only have a few because we love instant speed. What are the sorceries in the deck?
So the sorceries in the deck are Epic Experiment, Mystic Retrieval, and Merchant Scroll. So first off, I'm going to cover Epic Experiment. It is for X blue-red sorcery. You exile the top X cards of your library, and then for each instant and sorcery card with converted mana cost X or less among them, you may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Then put all cards exiled this way that weren't cast into your graveyard, which is really insane when like you just find a bunch of draw spells and then you're drawing a bunch of cards, which is really good in this deck. Mystic Retrieval is another card. It's for 3 and a blue. It's a sorcery. Return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand, and it has flashback for 2 and a red, which you just cast it from your graveyard for its flashback cost. And I found that very, very powerful, especially when you have some of those spell reducers out there. It's just saying this, like, I'm just going to spend a little bit of mana on like Windfall like 2 times.
Yeah.
That's fine. And then another card that is really good in this deck is Merchant Scroll. It is for 1 and a blue. It's a sorcery. You search your library for a blue instant card, reveal that card, and put it into your hand. Then you shuffle your library afterwards. So if you just really need to find a counter spell, if you're getting ready to like combo off, Merchant Scroll is the card to do that, and it's very just very useful in most situations.
So we're gonna move to some of the enchantments in the deck, and all these enchantments are in here because they either generate you value or they're just good. So the first enchantment is Mystic Remora, Metallurgic Summonings, Fevered Vision, and Firemind's Research. So we're going to cover 3 of them because Mystic Remora is a pretty common one in Commander nowadays. So Metallurgic Summonings. This 3 colorless, blue. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create an XX colorless construct artifact creature token where X is that spell's converted mana cost. Gives you a dork. Doesn't do much. He's just, most of the spells in here, the converted mana cost is pretty low.
Yeah.
But you're making a few little dorks, and that's fine. But his second ability, 3 blue, exile Metallurgic Summonings, return all instant or sorcery cards from your graveyard to your hand. Activate this ability only if you control 6 or more artifacts. Well, this isn't likely for this deck. It's not very likely you're going to do this, but if we edit this deck and put more artifacts, then that could be very, very powerful. And I guess the XX makes our artifacts too, but I digress. The next card we're going to talk about is Fevered Visions, which is 1 colorless, blue-red, enchantment. At the beginning of each player's end step, that player draws a card. If the player is your opponent and has 4 or more cards in hand, it deals 2 damage to him or her. So, again, you're just dealing damage. Name of the game is, if you're not going to cast a combo and you're going to drag the game out, well, let them draw cards, but punish them for drawing. Very popular card, Nekusar, but also equally as good here because you're still drawing an additional card. Extra ping off Niv, digs you deeper for the combo, just good overall. And my personal favorite enchantment in the deck is blue-red Firemind's Research. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a charge counter on Firemind's Research. So, okay, not very exciting, but it's a counter.
Yeah.
1 colorless, 1 blue. Remove 2 charge counters from it, draw a card. Okay, 2 mana to draw a card. That's not horrible. I mean, that's okay. 1 colorless red. Remove 5 charge counters from it to deal 5 damage to a target. So, late game, you need a draw. Well, you have a draw outlet and a mana sink. Oh, there's a troublesome creature? Well, let's just remove 5 charge counters and deal it 5. And with Torban out, that's 7. That's probably killing most stuff. Most commanders are just going to die to that. So, going on, before we get to the good part, the combo, Espen, you want to highlight some of the lands and like, what kind of mana base are we working with this deck?
So we're just working with a more or less simple mana base. You have your 11 mountains, 10 islands, Highland Lake, Izzet Guildgate, Swift Water Cliffs, Temple of Epiphany, Steam Vents, Forgotten Cave, Reliquary Tower, Gaia Reach Sanitarium, Command Tower, Mystic Sanctuary, Exotic Orchard, and Forbidden Orchard. And first, I'd like to cover Forgotten Cave. Now, this is just a simple card. It's just a land that enters the battlefield tapped, it taps for red, and it has cycling for 1 red. So, the only reason why I'm calling this card is because it can draw a card. And drawing a card is really good in this deck, it turns out. the next card I want to cover is Gyre Reach Sanitarium. It is a legendary land. Taps for colorless, so it's okay. Then you can pay 2 and tap it. Each player draws a card and discards a card. Which sure, you're letting everyone else draw a card, but like in the end, this is helping you like more often than not. And then Mystic Sanctuary, which is another card from Throne, which is actually seen to be pretty good. It's a land island. It taps for blue, and it enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 3 or more other islands. And when it enters the battlefield untapped, you may put target insert a sorcery card from your graveyard on top of your library. So say like you just need to like draw more cards, you can go ahead and play Mystic Sanctuary and then put Windfall back on top of your deck, which is really cool that a land can do that.
And this card also comes with one of the upgrades we're going to give, and it's a very mean lock, especially in 1v1, but nonetheless it's good. So finally you might be asking, well, we've teased you so far. What's the combo? Well, the combo is pretty simple. First, we're going to start off with Kiki-Jiki Meteor Breaker, which is 2 and 3 red, legendary creature, Goblin Shaman. He's a 2/2. He has haste. He says, tap, put a creature token into play that's a copy of target non-legendary creature you control. That creature token has haste, sacrifice at end of turn. So, there's some pretty obviously. This is a Splinter Twin type effect. So what does that combo with? Well, first card it combos with is Zealous Conscripts, which is 4 colorless and a red. He's a 3/3 with haste. Whenever Zealous Conscripts enters the battlefield, gain control of target permanent until end of turn. Untap that permanent, gains haste until end of turn. Target Kiki-Jiki, untap him, rinse and repeat. Same with these next 2. Deceiver Etchark, 2 colorless, blue, flash. When enters the battlefield, untap target permanent or tap target permanent opponent controls. He enters, untap Kiki-Jiki, tap Kiki-Jiki, copy him, rinse, repeat. Last card, Pestermite. Flash flying, when Pestermite comes into play, you may tap or untap a permanent. Again, very simple. Enters, untap Kiki-Jiki, copy, rinse, repeat. Very, very simple. So, Espen, we're going to go ahead and move to the end of the episode here. And some of you guys may be wondering, well, how strong is this deck? So, Espen, the Keranos. Let's start with Keranos. Keranos is the commander. Where do you rate this deck on the power level scale?
On the power level scale, I would probably rate this deck as a 6. It's not like turn to 2 for a win, but it's also like not like unplayable to the point where like you just get ran over. It can fight back against troublesome things, and it can put up a fighting chance even against like 7 or 8 decks, I believe so, just because you can dig so much for that combo.
Absolutely, and I think we're right there together. I would say it's a 6, maybe 6.5 at most. It's middle tier deck. You're going to play it with other regular decks, and it can maybe compete with the higher decks if you get the good hands, but this deck really reflects my style that you guys will go and learn. As Espen, your roommate, said, every other word of my mouth is either dredge or combo. Dredge or combo. That's all I like to do, is play dredge or combo. So now we're gonna go ahead and talk about now with Niv as the commander. So let's say you decided you want to build the deck, you want to upgrade it, and the first upgrade you're gonna make is you're gonna put Niv as the commander. So I went ahead and said this deck is probably a 7 or 8 at most with Niv as a commander. Him as a creature is just game changing.
Oh yeah.
He enters, he can't be countered, and you immediately start casting spells and getting value from him. Espen, are we on the same page here too with Niv as a commander?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, last night actually, there was a game where I just played Niv. I never touched Keranos because, as I stated earlier, no one interacted with it, and then I just dealt a bunch of damage and drew a bunch of cards, and like it was lots of fun, and just like it felt, you could just feel the power level of like feeling one card on the table than the others. It's game changing for sure.
Niv Mizzet Perron, the best Niv Mizzet. I'm going to say it here, the best Niv Mizzet. So we wanted to go ahead and give you guys a few upgrades. Obviously, there's some very obvious upgrades that this deck needs to make it at least at that 8. So the first card we want to talk about is Cyclonic Rift. You guys all know what Cyclonic Rift does. It is a 1 or a blue to bounce target permanent you don't control, 6 and a blue to return all permanents you don't control to their owner's hands. That is just better than Flooded Tears. That is just strictly better. So Espen, what's another upgrade we should make for this deck?
So another upgrade for this deck would be Thinning Ice. It is for 1 and a blue. It is a 0/4, if I'm not mistaken, and it enters the battlefield with 4 or 5 ice counters.
Yep.
And whenever you cast a spell, instant or sorcery, you remove a ice counter off of it, and when it has no more ice counters, it flips, and then you bounce all
horrors, I think.
All horrors and Leviathan creatures, I believe.
No, it bounces all non-horrors.
Non-horrors.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what.
And
it
it's
is.
a
Yeah.
6/6.
Yeah, and it's a 6/6, which is just insane. You just be like bounce everything, and then you're like, I'm the only one that has something on the board.
So the next card, very obvious, Force of Will. Probably, arguably, the best counterspell ever printed in Magic the Gathering. This card is 3 colorless, 2 blue, counter a spell. Okay, that's horrible. Let's move on. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So why this is good? Well, you have the option to exile a blue card from your hand, pay a life to counter the spell. Now, wow, a free counter spell. I mean, cost you a blue card and a life. That is nothing with this deck.
That's insane.
You are drawing so many cards. You are turning through your deck, and you will always have that blue spell. And 1 life when you have 40 is nothing. I always say life totals don't matter till you're at your last one. Well, till you're at 0, actually. Life totals don't matter. Like, use that as a resource. Some new players may be looking at this and saying, well, why would I ever pay a life? Well, do you really need that life? Like, I think that life is worth countering a very problematic combo piece or a spell. Just overall good. And so, Espen, I'm going to test you on this one. See if you remember this one by memory. What is the last spell we got here that it would be a good upgrade?
I know this card by heart because my roommate plays blue white in Modern, and it's insane. It is Cryptic Command, and for 1 and 3 blue, it is an instant, and you either counter targets, and there are 4 modes on it, and you get to choose 2 of them. So you can counter target spell, draw a card, tap all creatures target opponent controls, and then the third one is
bounce.
It bounces.
Bounce a creature.
Yeah, it bounces a creature. Yeah. It's always that last one that I always forget because, like, I mean, they don't do it so often, but like actually, for the combo that Christian mentioned earlier,
it is a permanent.
Yeah, it is a permanent because with Mystic Sanctuary, what you can do is you can counter bounce the Mystic Sanctuary back in your hand, and then next turn play Mystic Sanctuary and put counter Cryptic Command back on top. And you can keep on doing this, and it's just a devastating lock.
You're always gonna have that Cryptic ready to go. You're gonna counter bounce Mystic. You're gonna tap their team, bounce it, or if they're doing nothing because they've given up on the game and all hope of playing the game, you're gonna draw a card and bounce. Why not? Such a good card.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure there's other upgrades, and we would love to hear what you guys would upgrade this deck.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to upload this list to Tapped Out. We're going to have and you can follow us there. I think you can follow on Tapped Out. I've never actually used it, but that's where I get a lot of my decks from. We're going to put this deck on Tapped Out, and we're going to go ahead and go to the end of the episode. So, what's the interesting thing outside of Magic? Well, we wanted to talk about something that is going to label us as, some would say weeaboos. Other would say otaku. Some would just say nerds in general. We want to talk about anime today. And, well, we're big anime fans. Let's put it blankly. On my backpack for a long time, I had a Your Waifu is Trash button. I have a Legalize Awu button on my backpack right now. And, I wear it proudly. So, Espen, I know the answer to this, but they may not. What is your favorite anime of all time?
Now, it is not technically classified as an anime, but to my heart, it is anime.
It is on the council, but we do not grant it the title of anime.
Yeah, perfect. But it is RWBY. It is a show that like a group of girls is just trying to make a change in the world and just fighting against evil essentially. And fun fact, almost every weapon in that show is also a gun, and it's just really cool. And I just saw it and I just love the concept. It's just like, hey, guns are cool, weapons are cool. Oh, they're both together. Okay. Like, I mean, I think it's a cool concept. And then Christian, I believe I know your favorite anime, but what would that one be?
So my favorite anime of all time, and I recently came across this anime probably last year. all of our friends suggested and a lot of skepticism, is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, this anime is the best anime ever made. And I will fight you if you argue. This anime is so good. I'm not even through it all yet. I am on the 4th part, which is Josuke. Oh my god. I could gush about this anime we could do an episode on JoJo alone. I mean, Espen's almost done with it. I am at part 4, which is just a part behind where he's at. And yeah, this anime is, just to describe it, it's bizarre. It's bizarre to say the least.
Oh god.
Season 1, or part 1, because it's technically by parts. Part 1 focuses on the first ever Joestar, which is Jonathan Joestar. And he is your typical gentleman, good boy. And that season really focuses around him fighting Dio. And I'm sure you guys have seen the memes. You thought it was this, but it turned out it was me, Dio. And he's pointing to himself kind of like this. Yeah. A lot of memes, of anime memes, come from that first part of JoJo. And what's nice, on Verve, they have a shortened version, a 3-episode version of part 1. Now, I don't suggest watching that. I suggest watching the whole thing. It is so good. Season 2 follows my favorite JoJo, which is Joseph, which is Jonathan's son. No, Jonathan's grandson, yes. Yeah, sorry, it gets kind of confusing. It's Jonathan's grandson. He is my favorite.
It's bizarre.
Yeah, Joseph is the ultimate, opposite of Jonathan. Very much, kind of wild, and that season focuses on enemies called the Pillarmen. And, well, I'm not going to spoil anything, but very, very good. Like I said, I could gush about this anime forever.
Oh, yeah.
Part 3 follows Joseph's grandson, Jotaro.
Oh my god.
Yes.
My favorite JoJo, yeah.
This is Espen's favorite JoJo. Jotaro is the hardened bad boy, pretty much. Well, not really bad boy, but he's a tough guy.
Yeah.
And this season introduces stands. And on season 1 or 2 focuses on a thing called Hammond, which is like a soul type of energy that you can use from your soul to put forth through stuff. This season focuses on stands, which are crazy powers they get. And that takes place, Dio is the main bad guy. Season 4, which I'm at the very beginning of part 4, which is Josuke. Various bad guys. There's a main bad guy, I haven't met him yet. And then part 5 is Golden Wind, which focuses on Giarno. And so, getting off JoJo, because I could talk about it forever. Animes come in seasons. And Espen you don't really watch a lot of the seasonal anime, typically, I don't think.
Actually, I do actually.
You do?
Here and there. I just don't talk about it as much. I just love to just watch and enjoy it, yeah.
So, this season, there's an anime called Seton Academy Join the Pack. And we started watching this, and we actually both watched it today because we wanted a new anime to talk about.
Yeah.
This anime is so adorable.
Oh my god.
It's funny. It's about this human and that's going to the school of animals. And these are humanoid animals. So all the females are pretty much look like people, but are that have animal features. All of the boys in the school literally are just the animals. They have the animal heads. So the bears.
That's crazy, yeah.
Are bears.
Watching it, I was just hang on, I need to sit down and think about this.
And we have Mike, who's not with us today, unfortunately. I told him his favorite character is going to be Ranka, which is the lowly little wolf. And she is so adorable and wholesome.
Oh my gosh, she's so adorable.
And so, yeah. We just wanted to go ahead and highlight something we're very passionate about. We love anime. We're big nerds. And
oh, yeah.
Verve, if you were looking for someone to shout you out, we shouted you out for free this time. Email us, brassgaming@brassgaming.com. We would love to work with you.
Oh, yeah.
But, anyways, so, well, we talked about a lot today, and we hope you guys enjoyed the episode. So, for the Brass Gaming Podcast, I'm Christian.
And I'm Espen.
And we'll see you later. Bye-bye.